Hello.
Hello, Rhonda.
Yes, Neil.
How are you?
Not too bad. My husband Richard's here as well.
Good afternoon, Richard. How are you, mate?
Don't complain.
Excellent. That's what we want. No complaints.
Yeah.
Well, I could give you plenty, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, I didn't realise you were over in WA. I thought you might be in Tassie, so my bad.
WA.
Right. Whereabouts did you have your sighting?
Up near Jurien Bay, so halfway between Jurien Bay and Cervantes, at a place just near Hill River, where it is a bit of a river.
Yep.
Well, in summer it's sort of, just a few dribbles here and there. It was April 2019.
Yep.
And it was between 10 and 10:30 at night. We'd been to see our son heading back to our shack, which is south of Cervantes. And there's heaps of kangaroos on that road, at night. It really is bad. So Richard wasn't doing the speed limit. He was doing about 80.
And there are wild goats up there, but there's absolutely nothing like a goat. But because we never even would have considered seeing a thylacine, we both looked at each other and said, "What the hell was that?"
We didn't actually use those words, actually.
Yeah.
All right. So, what exactly happened?
It literally, we got really good lights from the car, bright lights. So it had basically come out of the bush one side of the road and was heading for the ocean side.
So Richard saw it because I was looking, because I'm the kangaroo spotter, so I'm going from left to right sort of thing. So I was looking the other side. He saw it first, and then I looked to the right, and I didn't see its head. I saw from the front legs to the back.
Okay.
And I just thought, what the hell is that? I've never seen anything like it. Definitely, look, we've seen wild dingoes, we've seen foxes, kangaroos, you name it, we've lived up north, so we've seen it. It's nothing like I've ever seen. It was sort of longer than a dog, but sort of shorter legs, and the front legs seemed to be, I think, a bit taller than the back legs. And the first thing I thought, my God, that poor emaciated thing, because I thought I was seeing ribs, something really skinny.
Right.
And then I thought, no, it doesn't have ribs. Certainly doesn't have ribs at the back. And then I realised it's stripes. And the one thing that we both commented on was that where the tail connected to the body, it was really thick.
Okay.
Which,
starts out big diameter and then sort of tapers
down. Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So we actually didn't even know what a thylacine was. We came home when we left the shack and came back to Perth. We thought, what is it? And Richard said, "Oh, is there such a thing as a quoll?" I said, no, that's got spots and that's little. This was big. And I said, it had stripes. So, I spent sort of a few hours just trolling through, different things. And then I came across, Tasmanian tiger. And that came up with an image. And I'm like, Richard, stop me, it's all. And honestly, Neil, if we'd be quite happy to do a stat deck, but that is exactly what we saw, because we've never seen anything similar to that. And also then I started reviewing, thinking, okay, once I thought about sightings in the area, whatever, and then I came across a paper, conservation paper by, have you heard of it, Greg Heball?
Yeah, he did a paper about sightings about 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
In WA.
He had about 203 from 1936, I think, till 1996. And I thought, well, if that's 203, that's people that have actually reported, which I don't know where you're supposed to report the sightings to. How many people like us would have thought, nah, they're supposedly, it's like suddenly saying, oh, I just saw a dinosaur in the back garden, People think you're a bit sort of, odd. And then I started looking, and then it had the map, and there's quite a few sightings around Jurien Bay and through that. And it's very low scrub.
They love the coast.
A metre, coastal, lots of wildlife. But you couldn't walk through, a human couldn't walk through the scrub with ease. It's very, very difficult.
Be easier to crawl through it.
Easy to crawl through. But yeah, and plenty of wildlife.
Spinifixy type.
Well,
Lots of game for them. Yeah.
Wattle, a lot of wattle stuff. Yeah.
Wattle, which is quite low. It's not pleasant. Scrubland is not pleasant.
Sure.
It wasn't that fast. Sometimes you'll see a dog or fox or even a bird or whatever. They really move that quick. But this one didn't seem that fast.
Didn't seem in a hurry, did it?
No.
It was very weird.
We may as well tell you, we actually had a dash camera in the car. And I did look at the video quite a few times. But I'm still looking for it because I would have downloaded it to have a good look. But I'm not saying like everybody, but in my case, I'll have dozens of memory sticks and things like that, and there's all sorts of bits and pieces on each one. But you can't. I tried to go as big as you can in the picture, but you can't actually. It's not enough detail to say, and I don't know whether it can be enhanced anymore.
Our niece said that there are certain apps you can get that will slow things down and then really sort of blow them up so you can see it.
Yeah, add more megapixels to the actual image.
Yeah, so I'm going to try that. But,
I've got to find it, and we've definitely looked at it, and I'm pretty sure it'll be somewhere, but we thought, shall we tell you about that or not? Because we haven't got it to show you now. But
that's all right, mate.
With the what I've got is called what's the name of that camera? It's called whatever it is. Anyway, there's a program which is good on the computer, and when you download those pictures, Next Space it's called, that'll tell you the exact
position.
Gives you the coordinates and the time of day and the.
It's like the metadata. Yeah. Tells you all the details.
I mentioned that to my sister, when we came back. And she said, "Oh, that's really interesting," because she now lives up in Jury Bay. And she said she went, going through all stuff and Googling this and that. And she said she found, which she now can't find, but she's back on it. She said there was a reporting supposedly near Jurien or Cervantes during the day where it was a bus with school children on it and the bus driver, and they saw something, this stripe going across the road.
Yeah, right.
She said she can't find that now, but she's onto it now to look. But, she mentioned to someone about, my sister and brother-in-law saw that, and they sort of looked at her, yeah.
There was a famous sighting in South Australia in 1967, I think it was, of a school bus that had one run alongside it at about 4 p.m.
Oh, maybe that
in the country. Yeah, and there was, about 8 kids on the bus and the driver. Everybody saw
I
it.
thought it might have been near Jurien, but that sounds right then,
Yeah, that was in South Australia, in a place called Lucendale.
Okay.
Yeah. So, when you saw this thing, did you get a look at the eyes under headlights?
I didn't. No, I didn't.
I couldn't say honestly with that, because you're not expecting it, and then you see it, and the eyes, and of course there it is, and there it's gone, sort of thing. But
sure.
Just the way it moves, and all, for somebody who knows what they should do. If I can find this thing, because what it does is the camera takes 5 minutes and then wraps it, and then does 5 minutes and wraps it, and then when the memory card's chock-a-block, it'll wipe it. But I don't think it would have been wiped, because I would, to look at it properly, I would have downloaded it onto the program on the computer, which has got all that.
So it'll be there somewhere.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It was definitely had stripes, because
Yeah.
My brain just thought, that is poor, skinny, emaciated thing.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking I'm looking at ribs along the whole.
Yeah, but it was actually stripes. Yeah.
Yeah, but it
could be though, couldn't it? I suppose they're carnivores, are they?
Yeah.
They are absolutely carnivores. They're a marsupial like a kangaroo, but their pouch faces backwards.
Right.
Is it like? We were talking about it the other night. Said, are councils or health departments or nature reserve people all wary to accept that? I mean, would they attack sheep and goats and things like that?
Yeah, they would. They're gonna take whatever they want, whenever they want, pretty much. So, but they will take a fresh roadkill as well. Their favourite food is kangaroos and wallabies. That's what they mainly hunt.
Oh, yeah.
But they do hunt wombats as well, and little. They'll take rabbits as well. They'll steal rabbits from rabbit traps.
Yeah.
They've been caught a few times doing that over the years. So they're pretty versatile when it comes to their diet. They're not fussy about what they take.
So is there an official place? Well, I was wondering where this fellow had grabbed all his stuff. Where did people put the sightings?
Okay. So what I do, I'm let you know now. I'm recording this conversation because I record all of these conversations.
Yep.
So I've got all the details, and I also put them on our YouTube channel as well. So if you're not objecting to that, I can put that out. If not, I'm happy to not release it. It's up to you guys.
Yeah, no, that's all right.
But yeah, what I do, I've got a YouTube channel which is now clicking over about 200 sightings on it, and it's basic interviews like this. I add a few photos there. It's basically a podcast without any visuals.
Right.
So it's me interviewing people. And look, the amount of information we get from WA is just bizarre. It's humongous.
Yeah.
We do get a lot of information. South Australia we get a lot, then Victoria, and then Tassie comes in about fourth.
Right.
But we've got a few people in Queensland and New South Wales that report stuff as well. So these things are clearly all over the mainland. They always have been. And we have science in denial to protect industry. That's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, because
It's the only reason why.
What will change that? If you get one on a post-mortem table somewhere, is it?
Yeah, pretty much. And even then, they'd probably try and say it was the last one, and now we can do what we want anyway. You're fighting a losing battle when you're fighting corporate governments, I'm afraid, because it's all about the dollar.
Most of the sightings, what sort of vegetation are they?
They're often within 20 kilometres of the coast. So whatever vegetation that is, they'll be,
Scrubby.
and they don't mind walking through a bit of farmland. They'll run up dirt roads right up the middle of the road and leave their prints there. They're not shy.
Yes.
They're just selective.
That'd be perfect then. Where we saw it, that is definitely less than 20 k's to the water.
Yeah.
Got a bit of fresh water, lots of loads of kangaroos.
Do you see many mutilated kangaroos with their heads missing out there?
I don't know about that.
Well, you do see but quite often they're on the side of the road, so you presume they're sort of
Well, we find kangaroos or wallabies with their heads and their lungs missing all over Australia, pretty much.
Wow, that's amazing.
And what does the uneducated want to think that is? A dingo or something?
Well, look, the educated ones are the ones that have all the power in this sort of thing, but sadly they're not doing what I would call science because they're not considering all the evidence. So it's just a stonewall from the educated ones and us amateurs that don't know what we're talking about keep doing their job for them, basically, and get no recognition officially. So it's only people like yourselves that see this thing that sort of appreciate the amount of time and effort that goes into putting all this together, So kudos to you for coming forward.
I could even draw this animal because I couldn't draw its head, but I could draw from the front to the back.
Look, if you want to do a drawing and flick it through to me in a text, I can use that in the clip. That'd be great.
Yeah.
We saw something on television recently. That guy who's got his own boat.
What was that one?
The SBS one, yeah.
Yeah. Where was that? Wasn't Tasmania?
Yeah, he was down in the southwest of Tassie. That's Tiger Man. He's finally come out the closet after all these years to show us his beautiful boat that he's selling.
It's a few dollars worth of boat, yeah.
Oh yeah, there was a few bucks worth of boat there. I don't think he's short of a coin.
No, I just wondered who was
he's a bit of a legend of sorts in the Thylacine scene because he wrote a book that's only been available online, and I found that book online 10 years ago, basically. So he's been around for longer than I have.
Yeah.
But yeah, he hasn't really achieved much as far as evidence goes. So, but it's pretty hard pressed to get any kind of evidence. We've had DNA evidence ourselves that got ignored back in 2017. Yep, we absolutely did. We had a big fresh scat from Tassie, and it came back about 94% wombat. And I said, that's impossible. This was like a Bondi cigar, you know. This wasn't a Rubik's Cube. Wombats. And so they came back again, and there was other species, other minor samples in the list. I said, what's in there? And they showed me that list, and numbat was in there. And numbats are only in WA. And
that is crazy.
Yeah, and there's no numbats in Tassie.
No.
And the closest living relative to a thylacine is a numbat. So, and this was a giant turd. It was a really big scat, you know, like it was clearly a thylacine scat. It was fresh when we found it. It was still warm. So, but the DNA, by the time I got it tested, well, what happened was by the time I found a laboratory that was prepared to test it was several months later, and it had decomposed considerably. That's why we didn't get a full hit on thylacine. But we got a hit to say that there was numbat there, and it shouldn't have been there. So either I discovered a giant numbat that lives in Tassie, or I had a thylacine shit, one of the two.
Yeah.
So you can take your pick.
That's amazing.
Because we've got a speech shack in that area, like very close to the beach. Literally, you know, Rhonda on a daily basis will go beach combing. Is there a very, very sort of, how could we say, physical footprint that absolutely is entirely different to anything else?
It looks a bit canine-like, but it gets extremely big, and it has 5 toes on the front foot that it can put down, as well as the heel of the front foot when it's walking or running. And then it can do the same thing with the back foot as well. It can actually put the hock on the ground like a kangaroo's foot, but it's got a dog's sort of arrangement of toes with a kangaroo's foot sort of thing, with that hock at the back.
Also, because I know that, you know, a lot of our native sort of meat eaters, you know, don't sort of react to all the baiting. Would the thylacine react to the baits or not?
Look, they've been miseducating people about the baits for a long time so they can use them, but those baits kill just about anything and everything that eats them or anything that died from eating them. So,
because they bait an awful lot.
They do, and look, the government are just disgusting with what they do with baits in this country. They should be hung for what they do. Yeah. It's that bad. Because they used to use it with a GPS and mark out where they put the baits, and then they'd come back and collect them all. But they don't do that anymore. They just fly out and throw them out the bloody plane, essentially.
Yeah.
So
it's the 1080, isn't it?
Yeah, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. They should be held liable.
We've known a lot of people over the years who've lost the domestic.
Yeah. They screwed up in Tassie with it many times. They killed some racehorses once. It got settled out of court, and you know they've killed cows and horses, and because they'd just fly over and drop these poison carrots out the bloody helicopter or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes it'd land in an area where it wasn't meant to land.
Yeah.
Hey, look, if you want to look at some prints, we've got a website called Thylacine Awareness Group of Australia.com.au.
Yeah.
You go there, and then you click on the left side, and there's a page there called The Evidence Thus Far.
Okay.
Have a look at that page right through. Okay. There's a little bit of everything in there.
Okay.
All right?
Well, as I said, you know, if anyone ever wanted, because I would definitely sign a stat deck, I would swear on
look, that's...
the Bibles.
You're one of many thousands of people I've spoken to that are adamant that what they've seen, you know?
Yeah.
I don't doubt you for a second, but unfortunately, all of those witness statements don't mean anything with wildlife identification, only in a murder trial, yeah?
Yeah, and there must be hundreds of people that haven't, as I said before, haven't come forward.
Yeah, there would be. There'd be just as many people that haven't mentioned what they've seen, I'd say. But there has been thousands on the mainland over the last 100 or so years, thousands.
So when they were not considered to be extinct,
yes,
there's obviously a lot of scientists over the years would have studied the way they, live and perform and all the rest of it. Are they known to be? Because I think for years and years they used to say they never got any filming up until the 80s or 90s, I think, of wolves in the wild because they were just so
elusive.
They're evasive of anybody that could get close.
Yeah, well, look,
like
if anyone's got a collection of ambiguous videos that might be thylacines, I'm your guy, yeah? So,
that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
What I was trying to say was,
are they very,
was that their nature to be super
elusive?
Elusive,
Super elusive. No scientists really ever studied them in the wild. That's the problem. They became very rare in Tasmania before science gave a shit. And by the time science did give a shit, it was too late. So, and these days, they don't really spend much time out in the bush. They spend more time in the laboratory, and it's not about conservation, it's about creation now. They want to play God and create their own patented organisms that they own. And sell them. That's what they want to do. So it's going backwards again. It's going back to the 1920s of thylacines in cages. That's what these idiots want.
I know.
You know.
So how long would they live for normally, and how often did they breed, if you know, and how many young did they have?
So they've got 4 teats in their pouch. They've got a backward-facing pouch. They can hop like a kangaroo and run as well. Their gait is known to be quite peculiar and awkward looking when they're running sometimes.
Yeah.
They live for about 20 years.
Wow.
They don't breed every year, probably every 2nd or 3rd year, depending on the seasons and how many young survive.
So they keep their young with them.
They stay in a family group, not so much a pack, but a family group.
Okay. Yeah.
And then when the males get to about 3 years old, they leave, and then the females probably leave a little bit after them.
Right.
From what we know. We don't know a lot, but there's a bit of speculation. It's all,
fascinating.
guesswork sometimes.
I've never looked into them until we saw this thing, and I thought, that's just amazing.
So what was their downfall? What was it? The development?
The fur trade. The fur trade was their biggest downfall, and poverty-driven hunting. So they were offering £1 for an adult and I think 20 shillings for a juvenile back in the day. And £1 was like a month's wages back in the 1800s. That was a lot of money. Yeah. So it was driven by that. 99% of them were caught in snares and pitfall traps. They weren't shot and hunted down.
Right.
Most of them were trapped.
Right.
So they were plentiful at one stage then?
They were in Tassie. They've always been on the mainland. I don't know why they want to deny it and try and hide it as much as they do, but they do for whatever reason. But if you go through the online newspaper archives, Trove, there's thousands of sightings in there from all over Australia.
Right.
So, and they go right back to the 1840s.
Then it tends to make me think that they're, the ones that there were some that didn't get caught in traps, so they wouldn't.
Obviously, yeah.
Around.
And the ones that didn't get caught in the traps in Tassie would probably be pretty smart, I'd reckon.
Yeah.
And they've become the breeding population after the plummet of their population due to the hunting pressure. So the ones that have survived and bred up now in Tassie are probably a little bit extra smarter than their ancestors, I'd say.
Very wary.
Yeah.
But they would have had things that the Aboriginals would have had lots of stories about them too, wouldn't they?
Yeah, and they do. And we've got a documentary that we put out, and we spoke to a few Aboriginal people in that from South Australia, actually, and they still revere the animal because it's still a living part of their culture in the Flinders Ranges. So
they still think it survived.
Well, yeah, they say it, they talk about it, so it's there, basically.
It's
and
there,
they've seen it, they know it's there, they've got songs to celebrate it, the whole bit.
So who was their predator other than the traps? Is there any other animal in the bush that...
Yeah, there's one other thing that likes to eat people, animals, and it's meant to be extinct, but there's a lot of people that would swear black and blue it's not. And that's a marsupial lion, Thylacine.
Yeah.
And that's the animal behind the drop bear stories.
Oh, right, yeah.
So the media's turned that into a circus, but it actually has a root. Like a lot of stories, they have a root in some sort of truth somewhere where people got scared and saw something.
Yeah.
And ran away, So
So what do they look like?
Oh, they sort of look like... They think they're probably responsible for a lot of the Black Panther sightings that people report, because there's an awful lot of those sightings in Australia.
Yeah, and a lot in WA along the coast.
Yeah, there is. There's big cats everywhere. And I think these thylacoleos are probably in every mainland state, I would say. Not so much in Tassie, but I think they're in every mainland state.
Yeah.
And probably always have been, and just there's not a lot of them around, but they would hunt thylacines, without a doubt.
Right.
Thylacines hunt foxes. We had a sighting from 2 guys in South Australia about 18 months ago. In broad daylight, this fox came running out and took off up the road. This was out near Murray Bridge in South Australia. And about 10 seconds later, a thylacine came out, chasing it, hot on its tail, in broad daylight.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, and there was 2 witnesses as well. But, you know, it doesn't. The witness statements don't mean anything when it comes to billions of dollars worth of mining. Let me tell you.
Oh, true. That's the point. And probably even if you did have photography evidence, they say, "Oh, well, that's AI."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it'll get to that point. It'll get there.
It's just, well,
I hope I can find this video, because if I can, just from what you would see, you could say, "Nah, that's somebody's bloody skink or whatever."
If you find it, get back in touch with me, and I'll you can email it through to me, and we'll see what we can do with it.
All right, okay, then we'll do that. Well, it's been fascinating talking to you. It's been really good.
No worries. Thank you very much for your call. And if
we hear of anything, well, we still don't tell people what we see.
Yeah, well, you might find some prints out there, and you might find a few headless roos. Now you sort of know what to look for. You'll be surprised.
Because we're going up there to stay for a bit, so yeah, we might explore a bit, especially along Hill River.
Okay,
there would have been a lot. I'd say more kangaroos, especially after summer, would have been, hanging around, because there's the pockets of water, which makes it sensible that that would have been there as well.
Yeah, there's actually some audio recordings on that page on our website as well.
What do they sound like?
Well, scroll down when you get there. It's right towards the bottom of that page is the audio, but they do a yipping sort of noise. They sound like a little dog when they do it. It's like a yip.
Oh, that's like a fox too, does that sort of thing.
Well, foxes do more of a screech. This is a real distinct yipping noise.
Yeah, okay.
But there's a few examples there on that evidence page, so have a listen and see what you think.
Do they growl at all? Or?
They do. They growl, and they do a dry, raspy bark as well.
Oh,
like a cough. Like a possum on steroids, basically.
What an amazing creature.
Yeah, it really is. It's a fascinating animal. So you're part of the privileged club now. You're in the club. Well done.
We've been in the club with possums for a while, because I have 7 years old.
What they sound like.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
you have a good evening.
We'll get on to this other thing, see if we can sort it.
All right. Good luck.
Okay, thanks, Neil. Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.